name's Mike, and my wife and I have kind of decided to do a video journal, and of course that's going to go on to YouTube, about Dutch aquariums. There's not enough content on YouTube about true Dutch, I guess, true Dutch. And everyone is calling Dutch or Dutch style, which in my mind, and it's probably some others, that's more of a garden style or kind of like a free form of playing a tank, which is great. But there's just not enough content on Dutch aquariums that follow a set of rules and guidelines that put it into that true, I guess, classification. So hopefully I'm going to do that through kind of like a video journal where I'm going to show you the ups and downs. I'm not going to hide any problems with the tank. As you can see, this tank has significant problems right now, and I hope to run about how I focus on those problems, correct those problems, all the while getting the tank into the Dutch category. So as you can see right now, this tank has problems, and I'll go over that, but essentially I ran the tank dry of nutrients, which caused a cascade where we end up now, and then through all of that I swapped the substrate to aqua soil and neglected to do the water changes that I needed, so it exacerbated the problems now. But real quick, what I want to go over probably today is just the equipment on the tank. So this is the Innovative Marine EXT 150, and it's 47.2 by 23.46, I can't recall, and I think it's about 19 inches high, maybe 20. Other equipment on the tank are two Netlea AT6 Pros, and I know they have a newer model coming out, so it's the current model. I'm running a U-gang reactor, and at some point I'll cover U-gang reactors, but it's basically a reactor that functions in the horizontal position versus like surges that's up and down. It is a sump tank, and this is a kit tank, and it comes with all the plumbing and Mighty Jet pumps that are actually really good and dead silent. I do run the Coral View X3 tank controller, and that's kind of like their dumbed down version that can monitor pH and do a couple on-off switches. So it just has 4 plugs that can control, and that's really all I want or need for this tank. I'm also running Netlea Professional Aqua Soil, and this soil has only been in the tank for 2-3 weeks, somewhere in that area. And kind of what's happened is, because the tank was cycled and functioning before, I never got an ammonia spike. So in my head I was like, I don't need to do the water changes, and that was a huge mistake, because there's always some level of undetectable ammonia. And I'll get a close-up, but you can actually see how the algae is forming on top of the substrate. So that's that ammonia or new aqua soil, and you can see the significant amount of green dust algae, and I will zoom in at some point and show you the filamentaceous. I'm getting that short filamentaceous algae, and that's just, not doing the water changes and that early nutrient problem that's kind of got me into a stubborn algae phase. So we're going to work through that through the videos and such. So I want to thank, now I'm not sponsored in any way, but I want to thank Aqua Rocks Colorado for offering discounts on just about all of this equipment, which made it possible for me to actually purchase it. So the lights, the U-gang reactor, his production model is really sweet, and we'll go over that at some point. The aqua soil is from him, and this bar actually doesn't even offer it on his website, but if you do reach out to Tommy over at Aqua Rocks, you can actually get this, and it's really cool, and I really want to thank him, because the discounts really allowed my wife and I to afford all this nice equipment. Realistically, without him, we would be doing cheaper options. So thank you, I really appreciate that. So who am I? I'm Mike Miller. I took second place in the AGA in 2023 for the Dutch category. And I think we had a shot at winning it, but we broke some rules because we only had the one tank at a time. It had too many fish, we didn't have enough red plants, and we had made a late decision to get the tank ready for the competition, and we kind of just ran out of time, and that's okay. It was a learning experience. But for here, we'll go for the AGA for this this one for 2025. We got plenty of months, and hopefully I can get it done. Missed it this year because the AGA had some hiccups with their new website. There was no communication on when, and we were just kind of gambling, getting it ready. And I gambled on swapping the soil because I was having those problems. I kind of wanted an easier time, and aqua soils will kind of give you an easier time for the most part, as long as you're doing everything right. Got caught, I guess, with our pants down, and we're not ready. And as you can see, the tank is kind of going through its initial phases, plus the already problem on top of it. So yeah, anytime you swap a soil, expect some initial problems because you lose that that microbiome, whatever you want to call it. Fish in this tank is fully stocked because we have been working on that, and the stocking is 17 hatchet fish, so that's going to cover my top species fish. We have 29 bloodfin tetra, and we have 12 albino sterni corridors. And all of his fish came from the fish room. Dustin, thank you, the coolest dude ever. His operation is all his fish go into quarantine, they get medicated, and they sit in that quarantine for a month before they ever go to display. So if you live locally in Albuquerque, the fish room is who I recommend. He's the coolest guy, loves what he does, and it shows in his product because I've never had a problem with any of his fish. So thank you, Dustin. All right, so today's goal, today's goal is going to be to clean the tank out, make a couple of movements with plants, and it's going to be real simple. But I ordered the RO unit from Aqua Rocks, Colorado. His name, or that name, will come up a lot. That's going to significantly increase the production of RO water. Right now, my unit does 6 gallons an hour. His is going to offer 25 gallons an hour. So it's going to motivate me to get the water changes done that I need to do. So parameters on this tank, I had been dosing, making my own macro solution based on what Joe Harvey recommended. And that solution would dose, per dose would be 4.5 NO3, 1.2 PO4, and 6 ppm of all those, of potassium. I am going to switch back to what I know and what I did for the larger tank that got me the second place in the AGA, and that is to front load all my nutrients. And what I mean by front loading nutrients, there's several ways you can go about it, but ultimately you dose all your nutrients right after your water change and then let it ride. So what I do is I have storage capacity in my garage where I fill my RO, and I actually dose those storage containers because I know the exact amount. So I dose my calcium, my magnesium, NPK, and I dose those to the exact numbers, and as long as I exceed probably a 65 to 70% water change, I can hold the tank at those levels pretty consistently, and it creates a really decent amount of stability. So I think too, with this go and getting this all cleaned up, I was reading an article on Scape Crunch, which, by the way, you should visit scapecrunch.com. I keep my journal there, and there's a lot of my favorite aquariums and top aquariums there that kind of fall into the Dutch category or aquatic gardener category. So in reading that, I am going to match my calcium and my potassium. So I 35 parts per million calcium, so I'm going to have my potassium at 35 parts per million. And I think I'm going to run, even though it's a little bit dangerous at this phase, this problem in the tank, I'm going to go ahead and do 30 ppm of NO3, I'm going to do 7 ppm of PO4, and again 35 ppm of potassium. Get out of here. And that is going to be what I'm going to do. And the water change frequency is going to be near 100% every 2 weeks to get this tank out of this issue. So that's, pH on this tank. I think the high pH when CO2 is off, so the overnight peak, is somewhere around 5.6. And during CO2 load, right now it's running 4.76. So that's the peak down that I get on this. And I have the controller monitoring that and will give me alerts if something funky goes out of range. But the U-gang reactor, the beauty of the U-gang reactor is that it's a kind of a set and forget type of system, and basically the length and diameter of the reactor controls the amount of CO2 that's going into the tank, and when you exceed the level where the return is, then you'll purge a little bit of CO2. So you can never exceed a certain level of CO2 in the tank if the reactor is built correctly. And in this case, it is built correctly. And the nice thing about the Aqua Rocks Colorado one is the plate on it is adjustable. So if you have different size tanks, you can change the pH drop or the amount of CO2 into the aquarium. All right, so goal today is going to be really simple. My wife and I are going to get this all scraped out. We're going to get all the green dust algae. I'm going to hydrogen peroxide out of a squirt bottle on certain parts that have algae, and that helps kind of control things. I'm going to do some hydrogen peroxide on the soil to kind of knock back this green, and I'm going to do a light tap with the Python or whatever siphoning system that you use. I'm not going to show all that. I figure you know how to do that. There's a bazillion videos out there how to do that, and that's not the goal of this. This is how to combat problems when they arise, get the tank into Dutch rules, and hopefully have a nice pretty tank. So we're going to scrape, do the hydrogen peroxide, and then we're going to change about 90% of the water. We're going to take it down to here, we're going to clean the sump, and we're done for the day, and we'll be back when that's done. Thank you. All right, here's the next day. You can see what we did. Got it all scraped. We sprayed everything down with hydrogen peroxide pretty decently. You can actually see in the front how this is starting to kind of go translucent in a way. Looks like we missed just a few spots, but you get the idea of what it does, and we'll just continue this each water change until it's all gone. Swap out on plants. I took out the one that was previously here, and I put in Bacopa because my idea is to have that kind of coming up out of the top behind some plants, but that's not important. We'll continue that discussion later. So yeah, we sprayed everything down in the back. You can kind of still see some, but that should go translucent and just disappear over time, and we'll also continue to scrub it. You don't have to do everything at once, take sections at a time. Didn't do too much with the balsamica. It's a new plant for me, and I'm not sure how it's gonna react to H2O2, so I left it alone. Maybe next week we'll spot dose and just see what happens. Kind of moved a chunk of the Taiwan lily and just kind of pulled it over to the left a little bit to open some space here and fill it in a little more towards the front of the glass. Thinned out the Potamogeton. If I say that correctly, I will murder all these plant names. Sorry about that. Potamogeton lucens. Quick plant list. It's going to be the Potamogeton lucens. Taiwan lily is just the generic name. We have Mirio golden. I just have some new arrival, the Helfiri. I believe that's what it's called, downy eye or something like that. There's a piece that just popped up out of the ground of Blexia japonica, which I'm just keeping in there. Hygrophila balsamica, the hygrophila behind that, Hygrophila difformis, which is going to come out of the tank. I'm going to try and use all balsamica to fill in that area, but I just want to keep plant mass up as best I can. Hygrophila coriambosa augustifolia, if I say that correctly. Super easy plant and love it, and it's a option versus doing like Valsenera or whatever. This is Limnophilia aromatica, the mini version. Regular AR, this is my nemesis plant. I had a very stunted piece of it, stuck it in here to see how it does with the aqua soil, and if it does well and I can move it around without it stunting, it might replace the Echinodorus flame. Although I've never really let that kind of do its thing to see what it will do and what it looks like when it's really full and nice. So I don't know. We'll see if it stays in the scape. Here is what is that? Starogyne Portavelho, kind of a slow grower, darker green, longer leaf than your Starogyne repens that's so common. On the right side is Hygrophila triflora, and behind that is just plain old pennywort, but it's a variegated version, and that will not make the scape. We'll discuss how symmetries are a no-go in Dutch, and a lily in both corners, or lily types, is going to be a no-go. But it's just there for plant mass. I think I covered everything. Bacopa colorata. If I did not mention that, yeah, that's everything. And you can see it cleared up pretty good. I'll clean the filters out today for any of those algae spores or dust and all that got in there. I'll clean all that out. And it's real easy on this tank with the sump. Just pull the sock, rinse it, throw it back in. So yeah, that's it the next day.